Hi everyone, welcome to the Golden Years, Understanding Better Living. I'm Phylis Ayman, your host. I'm so proud to have with us today David McaAllister, a retired physical therapist and a veteran resource consultant who's going to be able to share valuable information for our senior veterans and their families. Welcome, David.
Thank you so much, Phyllis, for having me today.
I'm so proud to have you here today.
Yeah,
so much valuable information. You know, we had a great conversation before we started, and we actually have a lot in common in terms of the spaces we used to work in.
Yeah.
We both worked in skilled nursing facilities, but and so there's information about that we can share later on. But you know, how did you come to this space?
So I had been practicing as a physical therapist for 22 years. I finished my career as a rehab director. But backing up, in 2012, I worked for a home care agency, and the owner of the home care agency asked me if I had ever heard of a veteran's benefit called aid in attendance. Being a veteran myself, I said, honestly, no, I'd never heard of that, but I got into the research of looking into it on the va.gov website and doing some research, and what I found was that there's an amazing benefit out there to help elderly veterans that are being discharged from nursing care centers or need help at home, and they only had to have a couple of qualifications to secure this benefit. So I started just shouting to the rooftops, telling, you know, veterans that were being discharged, hey, did you know about this benefit? You can go over here and find it, and that is basically how I started.
So what are some of the benefits that they're entitled to that people probably don't know about?
So specifically, the aid and attendance benefit was developed in 1951 for the World War I veterans, right?
Wow.
For them to age in place. Even back then, the government was thinking age in place. So moving forward, it was available to World War II veterans, Korean War veterans, Vietnam veterans, and the stipulations are requiring care at home, okay? Being a physical therapist, what are we good at? Making sure a house is safe, making sure the client can perform the activities of daily living they need to do, and make sure that they're safe within their home.
So for those viewers who might not be familiar with what the activities of daily living are, would you be able to explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So activities of daily living consist of waking up in the morning and sitting up at the edge of the bed, standing up, going to the bathroom, into, you know, the bathroom facilities, being able to ambulate. And actually they added ambulation as an activity of daily living just this year.
Wow, that's just walking from
that
one
is
place
walking,
to another.
yeah. On October 18th of 18, they changed the rules and they added a few more activities of daily living, which consisted of ambulation. So for instance, if you're an elderly person walking with a walker, that is an aid, that is a qualifier for the benefit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I assume dressing would be bathing, toileting, preparing food part of that?
Absolutely. The preparation of food and also the feeding of food. There are some diagnoses that the individual is unable to feed themselves. As a speech pathologist, you know this.
Absolutely.
So that is a qualifier. So being able to physically feed yourself, if you are unable to do that, then you can seek compensation from the VA.
So would it be not just feeding, you know, as you brought up, I'm a speech pathologist, but would it be also if you require a modified food consistency, like you can't eat regular food and your food needs to be chopped or pureed, and obviously if you're challenged in that way, you might not be able to do that, to prepare it.
So yes, not necessarily the modification of the food per se, but the individual that is required to modify that food.
Okay.
So there are things that I tell clients to keep in mind. If you require the assistance of another person, then you have a qualifier. And if you have to prepare meals, let's say you're a daughter that prepares mom's meals before you go to work for the day. That is an activity of daily living that your mom cannot do. That's a qualifier. Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, and doing research for this show, I was reading about A Place for Mom, and Joan London, who's the spokesperson for A Place for Mom. If
Yeah.
anybody has seen that commercial, they're probably familiar with her. And I found out that she came to have that position because I think it was her father who was a veteran, and she was looking into some of the benefits and found out what he was entitled to. And in the article I read, it said that maybe 5% of veterans are aware of this benefit.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
So I actually think it's even lower than 5%.
Oh, my
I think
goodness.
it's closer to 1%. Like I had said earlier, I was a rehab director, a physical therapist for many, many years. I want to say that 8 out of the 10 patients that I saw on a daily basis were veterans or spouses of a veteran. None of them knew about the aid and attendance benefit and what was available to them, compounded by even the social services departments within these facilities not realizing the benefit exists.
So if somebody is in a skilled nursing facility, are they entitled to any benefits while they're there through this program?
So there is a VA form that can be filled out. It's 21-0779. It is specific to veterans and spouses that reside in a home, and it gets them a $90 stipend when living in the nursing home.
So they would be able to get 90 plus, I think it's $50 or $60 on a monthly basis for spending. So that would be about $150. Which,
that's haircut money.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a lot of different things, right? Clothing.
Bingo.
Absolutely, trips, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's really terrific. So now, if somebody is entitled to this benefit in their home, so would that mean they would be able to get home care services?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the aid and attendance benefit is specific to home care services. So if you are a veteran, the spouse of a veteran, caring for a loved one, that's paying to care for a loved one at home, you can seek services paid for by the VA to care for your mom or your dad at home. And how there is an application process. There's a few things that need to be ironed out with regards to the application, financial. They ask about your financials, and you do have to meet certain requirements for financials. But remember that date, October 18th of 18?
Yep.
There used to be a threshold of $80,000. It now is $123,640 now. So it opened a window of about $40-some thousand. So more veterans can apply for this aid and attendance benefit, and so it's really a good thing to take advantage of.
I was reading that. So now they're allotted a certain amount of money a month. Is that correct?
Yeah. So $26,000 for a veteran and spouse would be roughly the amount of money, right? It's actually on my website. I have a website called OnTheFlyPTGuy.
Oh, great. So people can find out this information on your website.
Yes, as a matter of fact, if you go to ontheflyptguy.com, there is a VA tab, and you tab down, and I am, under full disclosure, everything is right there. I actually did a PowerPoint presentation recently. That is on the website. The 2019 dollar amounts are on the website. So let's go back to the $26,000.
Right.
$26,000 breaks down to about, I think it's about $2,200 per month in services.
That's for a couple.
That is for a couple, yeah.
Right.
So that $2,200 a month translates into about 100 hours of care. So if you're a veteran and you require help at home, you can get up to a stipend that will pay up to 100 hours for care per month. So, that's 25 hours a week.
That's
tremendous. And that could mean great freedom for the family that has to find the time, find the hours. Yeah.
And that would be the difference between someone being able to stay in their home and going to a skilled nursing facility, which is, as we all know, is not optimal.
Yeah.
But as we said earlier, I've worked in over 40 skilled nursing facilities, and certainly I've worked with a lot of veterans who, some of them probably could be at home with these benefits.
Yeah, it's about aging in place. And the veterans, people in general, they don't want to enter a nursing home. They want to age in their own home.
So that would be absolutely terrific. So how are people going to find out about this? If we're saying 5% no or 1% no, how are we going to get that word out there? Because it's, you know, I was reading an article about a young fellow, actually. I think he's about 20 years old, whose mission it is to interview every veteran that is still alive from World War II. And right now, I think there are about 500,000 of them. It's really very interesting that a young person, you know, wants to find out their stories, share their stories. You know, I'm sure a lot of those people don't know about these benefits. How do we get the word out to these 500,000 people?
You know, that is a great question, because I don't know the answer to that. Let's go back to the home care business. When I learned about it, I started spreading the word and telling the social workers, telling my friends that are in rehab about its existence. And it's about reinforcement. There are legal stipulations that don't allow companies to advertise its existence, and the VA is very strict on certain procedures of allowing the ordinary population to access the program. And I have gotten letters that say I cannot tell people about the program.
Why would that be?
You know why? I'll tell you why.
Yeah, please do.
I'll tell you why. There are 10 million veterans out there between World War II, Korea, and Vietnam that are over the age of 65 that could apply for this benefit.
So it's a money issue.
So the cost for 10 million veterans is $1.3 trillion
oh my
per
God,
year.
It's astronomical. But they're entitled to that. I mean, these are people who, most of them, especially World War II and the Korean War, a lot of them volunteered.
Yeah.
You know, they felt this was their duty to protect the country, to advance the cause of democracy around the world. I mean, these are not just citizens of our country, they're really citizens of the world.
Yeah.
This is how I view it. And, you know, why aren't we doing better by them? I mean, do you have an answer for that, or what's your opinion about that?
I don't. All I can say is that I try to tell everybody that I know its existence. And through Facebook, LinkedIn, and other avenues, such as those social media avenues, is how I get the word out. I've worked in 12 different states to help home care agencies understand the program, nursing homes to understand the program, and what's available, how to go about applying. Because let's face it, you don't need me to apply. Anybody can go on va.gov and apply. They just need to know the proper forms, how to fill them out, and where to send them. You know, you can use service officers to apply for the help of applying for the benefit. There are service organizations like the American Legion, the VFW, the DAV. But here's something very interesting about those organizations. They all fight for the membership of the elderly vet.
Oh my goodness.
Which is crazy. I've done some conversations with VFWs. I've done some in-servicing with them, and they have no idea that the program exists either. And their membership is of that age where they can apply for the benefit. I did an in-service in East Hartford a year ago, and the population was all over 65. There were elderly guys. I actually brought a 94-year-old World War II veteran with me.
Oh, cool.
To the show, and he got to do Pledge of Allegiance and open the ceremonies and close the ceremonies, which was really cool. I loved it. And they had no idea that there was a benefit for aid and attendance, and they have a service officer there. So I find that educating the VFWs, the American Legions, and the DAVs is critical in letting everybody know what's out there.
Yeah, I'm
honestly.
so glad we have this show that, you know, more people obviously will get this information. So let me ask you this question. If somebody does apply, how long, you know, we all know about bureaucracy, how, you know, and things turn very slowly. How long does it take from the time a person applies to the time they receive the benefit?
So years ago, when I started doing stuff like this and educating and helping, it took about 6 to 9 months for that process to happen, right? Last year, I had somebody qualify in 26 days
Oh,
okay?
that's terrific.
26 days. Well, I use my skills as a therapist, assess their needs, and with the changes in laws, you can, healthcare practitioners can write narratives to support the claim of the veteran. And actually the VA encourages that to expedite claims faster. Okay, so what I've found over the last year or so is that instead of being 6 to 9 months, it can be as low as 91 days or 3 months when they start to receive the check.
So are those benefits retroactive?
They are retroactive. They retroactive back to the original adjudication date, which was when the individual files the claim. So what I tell individuals is you want to file your claim around the 25th of the month, so that by the 28th of the month, it's received and scanned in by the VA. That secures the first of the month. And the first of the month is a critical day. That's payment day, that's adjudication day, that's retro date. So let's say, for instance, you apply on December 25th. Your January 1st is your retro date, your adjudication date. They will award your claim by the end of February, by the end of March. It retros back to January 1st, okay? And then moving forward, so you'll get one lump sum payment of about 3 months worth of remittances. And then moving forward, they'll pay about $200 or $300 a month, depending on your financial status and, you know, those kinds of things.
So is that tax deductible income?
It is a tax-free stipend.
Well,
which is even better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the money is received by the veteran and then paid out for home care.
Oh, so they pay out for those.
Yeah, so let's say
benefits
X, Y, and Z home
independently.
care agencies coming in, working with grandma and grandpa, mom and dad for their care. They get a bill. The VA pays the family pays the bill, right?
Okay, so now my other question would be, let's say somebody, you know, is a veteran from whatever, let's say World War II, for argument's sake, and now they're however old, and they haven't applied for the benefits all this time, and now they're becoming aware of this benefit, and they apply for it now. Are they penalized in some way because they didn't access that benefit from the time they were, let's say, 65, and now they're 85?
Yeah, so no, they're not penalized, and if they're over 90, they expedite it even faster for them. Funny thing is, they have a checkbox on the end of the application that asks if you would like your claim delayed in response or would you expedite it faster.
Well, who would
Isn't
want
that crazy?
Who would want it delayed?
Yeah, right?
Does that make any sense?
It doesn't. It's like the $3 you send for the presidential election, right?
That's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
anyway, so, well, that's good to know. So it's good for people to know that this is not taxed.
Yeah, not taxed. That is correct.
So they don't have to worry about that in terms of receiving
Yeah.
additional monies. If they, let's say, receive Medicaid, that this is separate.
It
so
is
they wouldn't
separate,
have to be
yeah.
counted as income.
Correct. Yes.
So that's a great thing. That's one good thing. And the other thing is that, you know, if they're 85 now and they turn, you know, obviously turned 65 20 years ago, and they wanted to apply for those benefits now, they're not penalized because...
No. Remember, the stipulation is they require the assistance of another person to perform a minimum of 2 activities of daily living: bathing, dressing, preparing medications, food, those kinds of things. There are plenty of 80, my dad's 85, and he doesn't require any help right now, but maybe in a couple of years he might. So, so there is no penalty for that.
So I actually just thought of another question. So let's say somebody has been in a skilled nursing facility, they're receiving Medicaid, they didn't know anything about these benefits, but they really maybe don't need skilled nursing care, and they're just finding out about this benefit, and there's a possibility they could return home.
Absolutely.
So is that a possibility?
Absolutely, yeah. As a matter of fact, you can, if you're in a skilled nursing facility and you're on your short-term rehab, getting like a hip replacement done or rehab for a knee replacement or something along those lines, you know, you're in a short-term wing, for instance, and you're going home, it is perfectly okay to apply for your benefits while in rehab knowing you're going home, because it does take 60 to 90 days to receive the benefits. So you can apply at that moment in time. So really a nursing home could expedite that very, very comfortably.
Of course, it might not be in their interest because they have a lot of people leaving.
Yeah, true.
But that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
But so now I have another question. If people, because I've known veterans who go to VA hospitals for whatever, and then they're transferred to a nursing home, even when they don't necessarily need skilled nursing care. Are veterans hospitals telling people about this benefit, do you think?
I don't know if they are. They probably don't even know of its existence, honestly. Yeah.
That's shameful.
Isn't it? Yeah, I've met a few service officers that didn't realize there was a home care benefit for elderly veterans. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really, I mean, it's mind-boggling. I'm almost stumped because I'm at a loss for words because, I mean, these people have done such an honorable thing for this country and for the world.
Yeah.
In most cases. And they should be honored in a far greater way.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
So where else do you speak to, convey this information to people?
So I actually have coffee hours that I do around the state of Connecticut. There are several assisted living facilities that I have coffee hours in. They're a monthly roundtable, and honestly, it was developed for me to help elderly veterans just talk about their service. And it had nothing to do with diving into aid and attendance and care at assisted living facilities. Sometimes they ask me about it, but honestly, I don't solicit veterans. I let them talk about their service. And if they ask me questions about, home care, or they ask me questions about care within the facility, like for instance, I'm going to get off track a bit. Assisted living facilities, if you are a veteran living in an assisted living facility and you're receiving care because you need the assistance of another person for 2 activities of daily living, your entire bill can be deductible off of your assets. So that is a brand new rule that came out on October 18th of 18 that allows veterans to lower their assets if they require the assistance of another person.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so if you have elderly veterans that move into assisted livings and they have, assets of $223,000 and $640, and they spend $100,000, it lowers their assets. They can apply for the aid and attendance benefit.
Right. Now, of course, most assisted livings cost way more than what they would be getting, but it could offset whatever they're paying for the additional care, because they pay for additional care in assisted living. I mean, they get their room and board and the activities, but if they do need extra services, that's, I believe they pay extra for some of those services.
Oh, they definitely do, yeah.
So, and then the bill goes upwards from there.
Right.
So that would be great. That would help to offset those, those costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how many assisted livings do you think know of this information?
That is a great question that I don't have the answer for. There are assisted livings that partner with elder care attorneys or bigger companies that offer, in-service conversations about the benefits for elderly veterans. But honestly, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
Well, that actually, you just mentioned another group, which would elder care attorneys. I mean, this is such valuable information beyond just the veteran and their families, whether it's social workers in nursing homes, whether it's assisted livings. Elder care attorneys are another avenue, where if people go in to, settle their estate or file certain papers, if the elder care attorney, is aware of this benefit and the person is a veteran, which I'm sure they'd find out through that interview, they'd be able to pass along that information.
Yeah, yes, and they do. I have worked with about 7 different elder care attorneys. I should probably give you a disclaimer. My function within this benefit process is assessment of the clients' range of motion, their activities of daily living, and safety within their home. I follow within the scope of my practice. And when I get a phone call from a social worker that says, I have a client that's a veteran that could use your help, I have a disclosure. It is on my website. It says exactly what I do, and I do follow the scope of my practice. Assessment of need, assessment of home for safety, activities of daily living, and things along those lines. When it comes to the actual completion of the paperwork, that is actually on the family's end or the elder care attorney that's accredited by the VA, if in fact he is accredited by the VA.
So that's another good question. So if they need help, the family needs help, or the veteran needs help in completing the form, they would need to speak with someone who's accredited by the Veterans Administration for completing the form.
If that individual is going to put pen to paper, they need to be accredited, yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so who else other than, if people needed help with this form, other than an elder care attorney, where else could they go, or who else could they turn to help them with the form?
Sure. There is also an accredited agent that may or may not be an attorney. I work with one specifically that is out of Texas. He is an accredited agent, former Navy, from 28-year Navy vet, and he worked in pensions and compensation, started a business helping veterans with their paperwork filing, whether it was service-connected or non-service-connected pensions, things along those lines. And, excuse me, and he is a great resource when I have stumbling blocks. Like I said, I'm healthcare. I focus on the needs on a healthcare aspect. When I have complicated questions from veterans, I send them right to the accredited agent. And yeah.
So if somebody called the local Veterans Administration office, let's say, and inquired about this and needed help with the form, would they be forthcoming in providing help for them, or providing a name of somebody who can help them, or having them come in so that they can be helped to fill out this paperwork?
So that could go either way. It depends on the person who's on the other end of the phone, if they actually pick up, because the VA is very busy. There are a lot of things going on there. The person on the other end of the phone may not even know the benefit exists or where to send that individual. And actually, I have a separate business, and my partner, her father, is a veteran. She's called the VA 5 times in the last 2 weeks, wondering where her paperwork was in the process. And she's gotten mixed answers on each phone call. And someone said it was sent to the wrong address that didn't even exist, and various other things. But the VA is very busy, and that's why there are other resources for veterans to take advantage of.
You know, and I could imagine that, you know, people get frustrated and they say, forget it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not saying that that's the reason behind it, but that's unfortunate because, you know, they're missing out on a huge benefit and a huge opportunity to, let's say, stay in their home, or, you know, whatever the other situation is, whether it's a stipend in a skilled nursing facility, or, you know, spending down their assets in an assisted living. I mean, there's so many different aspects to it.
So here's an interesting thought. An accredited agent or a VA accredited attorney is not allowed to charge for the application process.
Oh,
okay?
That's interesting.
So listen to this, it gets better. The only way they can charge is if the application fails on submission. So let's say, for instance, veteran walks into an accredited agent or an attorney's office, they fill out the paperwork, they send it in for adjudication, it gets kicked back as a denial for paperwork issues.
Right.
Now the accredited agent or the veteran accredited attorney can charge to figure out what the problem was. And they can charge up to 20% is the legal limit. So if you're looking at a $26,000 yearly stipend,
Wow,
it could be
that's
$5,400.
That's a lot of money, though,
That's-
and it could
yeah.
be something minor.
And it could be
you know, as
something
we all
minor.
have filled out forms for many things, even if you do it online, you know, you think you filled out everything, and then you made a mistake with a number, or you didn't put in, you know, your zip code, or whatever it is.
Right.
So it could be something very minor. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah.
But now, are any of these forms available to be filled out online, or?
Yes, actually they are. They're all online. As a matter of fact, they're on the va.gov website. But here's the thing. You need to know what you're looking for in the pension realm. We had talked off camera about Parkinson's disease, for instance.
Correct.
Parkinson's disease is recognized on the VA website as a service-connected disease related to Korean War vets or Vietnam vets for their time in service, something to do with Agent Orange and complications from that.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
it gets better. A Parkinson's disease service-connected pension could be as much as $75,000 a year. Could you imagine what that pays for in home care help versus the $26,000, which is the non-service connected pension we've been really just talking about the entire time? Isn't that amazing?
That's crazy.
Guess what? There are more. Diagnoses like lymphoma, peripheral neuropathy, diabetes have all been linked to Agent Orange. That's a Vietnam era issue.
Right.
Those individuals that suffer from those debilitating diagnoses have access to a service-connected pension, and they just need to know that it's available to them.
So for those individuals, do they have to be over the age of 65, or if they have Parkinson's, because you could get Parkinson's at any age?
I would say, I don't know the answer to that, but I would say since they're focused on the non-service connected pension starts at age 65 and up, and I would say all of your Vietnam vets now are pretty much in their 60s, I would imagine. You know.
Probably.
Yeah. So it's quite amazing that what's out there as far as resources go, and I have read so much information on the VA website that has been helpful in me to tell other individuals about it.
So you said lymphoma, you said Parkinson's,
diabetes.
Diabetes. Yeah, well,
peripheral
neuropathy,
neuropathy,
which is
sure.
Sometimes a
lower extremity thing.
Lower extremities, which comes from diabetes.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
definitely.
Sure.
Anything else that you can think of that people out there would say, oh, you know, like I have that, or?
I would say the key things are looking at your elderly loved one. If they require the assistance of another person to do 2 activities of daily living, if they served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and they require those that kind of assistance, look into it. You can go onto my website, On the Fly PT Guy. I wouldn't even know you were there. Hit the VA tab, scroll down, read the information. There is a lot of good information right there.
Yeah, I did read something. Maybe you could just clarify this. It was something about you have to have been in active duty for 2 years, but then there was something about 1 day. I got a little confused about that. Can you explain that?
I can. So it's actually active duty 90 days with 1 day during a congressionally declared conflict, okay? And they word it like that because the Korean War actually has no end date right now.
Correct.
And so a congressionally declared conflict is the words that are used. 90 days active duty with 1 day during a congressionally declared conflict.
Okay. And the Korean, actually, I don't think it was actually a war. It wasn't declared a war, was it?
Yeah, I think it's declared a conflict. Yeah.
Okay. So that's very interesting. So is there anything else that you think would be of real importance to our viewers on this topic? I mean, I'm sure there are many more things that people probably have a host of questions. I can't think of any of them, but you've been a veteran, so can you think of any other questions that you think might pop into somebody's mind and you'd be able to address those issues?
Well, I tell you what, I would say if you have a question, to reach out to the show. You can reach out to me via On the Fly PT Guy. No question is absurd or wrong. They're all good questions. They can at least help you navigate and create a successful pathway to getting your benefit, whether it's service connected or non-service connected, really. There are a lot of companies out there that try to help elderly veterans that are unsuccessful. And I would say any question is a good question, and if I can point you in the right direction, I will. If I can't help you, I will find a resource to help you.
Oh, that's great for people to know. Thanks, Dave. This has been just fantastic.
Oh, all right.
And you know, I'm sure the viewers enjoyed the information. I'm sure they'll find it valuable, and I'm sure we'll get great feedback, and hopefully we'll be able to have you back again and, you know, go into the topic in more depth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm so proud to be able to bring people this information about our senior veterans. And,
thank you.
How we're going to address their issues. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you again next time at the Golden Years, Understanding Better Living.